And welcome back, rugby fans, Rugby411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is our Week 16 power rankings for the MLR 2024 season. Yes, we are nearing the very end of what has become a very exciting season, the seventh season of Major League Rugby. Almost all the spots have been filled up for the playoffs. The last spot in the Western Conference has been claimed. We still have two spots open in the Eastern Conference, fought mathematically between three teams. So we still have a lot to play for in this last season. Of course, there's a little bit of maybe placeage of who ends at what spot in the top four. I don't think there's a lot of movement that could possibly happen just because the top teams in the Western Eastern Conference are pretty far ahead of everybody else. But still, 2 weeks left, a lot of action to go, and a lot of action to talk about in this Week 16 in our power rankings. Now, again, if you've never seen my power ranking videos before, just to get into the nitty gritty, again, it's all about what you do on the pitch, who you play against, how well you beat them, how much you beat them by. Teams that are dominating lower ranking teams don't move so high. Teams that are lower ranking that beat the top ranking teams tend to move up higher. There are no buys this week. Every team played, so there is no worries about moving. There was a couple of pretty ho-hum games won by higher ranked teams that I was expecting a little bit more from. So there was a little bit of dilemma on how to move a couple of teams, and I'll go into the nitty gritty on that. But enough talk. A little disclosure: it was a pretty busy weekend for me personally. I had my wonderful girlfriend come to visit. We were able to watch the last home game for RFCLA. Of course, I work there as the PA announcer. You might recognize the voice if you're there. By the way, thank you for the over 2,000 people that attended the final game of RFCLA's 2024 inaugural season. It was amazing. The turnout was great. We're hoping we can ride that momentum into next season. A little spoiler, it didn't end the way we wanted it to end, but hey, we had an amazing turnout on Father's Day, which was pretty impressive. So again, we're hoping at the organization of RFCLA that we continue that momentum into next year and maybe start filling up the main Dignity Health Sports Park arena. So let's get on. Because of that, I wasn't able to watch every game. I like to watch all the games just so I can fully analyze correctly the rankings for the teams. I missed 2 games, so this will be a little bit based on just what I'm seeing on the scoreboard. I hope to make up. There's a lot of games this weekend again. 6 games everybody's playing, and we are for whatever reason fully loaded on that Saturday. So I don't know if I'll be able to watch all the games and make up for it, but at least by the following week, the last week of the season, I do believe I'll be caught up. So no worries there. But anyways, so the first game I wasn't able to watch, though it ended up being a very important game for Miami. The Miami Sharks were able to beat Carolina Anthem, and unfortunately, Carolina Anthem staying as the only undefeated team of the season, losing to Miami 14-30. Miami, not a super impressive win over pretty much the worst team in the league, the team that hasn't won anything. So I kept Miami at the number 10 spot, did not move them. Again, I didn't really see the game. It looks like Miami kind of blew out Anthem. Miami did get 5 points, though, so that is important when we talk about the Eastern Conference right after this. Keeps them in the playoff picture. Then, number 11, moving up a spot from number 12, the Utah Warriors, a rare occasion where I do feel that a team did really, really well in a loss, and because Anthem was the number 11 spot and they lost pretty decisively to Miami, I slid them back down to number 12 spot. So Utah ends up moving up a spot, losing to the best team in the Eastern Conference, your reigning defending New England Free Jacks, 27-36. It was actually a very impressive showing by Utah, a team by all rights eliminated from the playoffs, really doesn't have a lot to play for. they actually look like they might have been able to pull off the upset against New England. We'll talk about the game. Utah was leading New England 10-3 near the end of the first half. Unfortunately, New England then scored to try to tie up the game 10-all. The score ends up going 17-17 in the second half. Utah, though, gets a yellow card right before the second half start. That ended up costing them as New England was able to score. Jed Melvin, newly acquired by New England, I'll talk a little bit more when we talk about New England, was able to get a hat trick. So in the second half, New England was able to score a couple of tries, and New England was able to keep Utah out in the end, 27-36. In my opinion, it ended up being a very close game, despite what was shown on the scoreboard. Utah, again, looked really impressive for a team that, by all accounts, by myself at least, looked pretty much left for dead. Unfortunately, a team that also looked pretty much left for dead and also lost out on any chance for the playoffs, RFCLA sliding down from number 7 to number 9 after losing to NOLA Gold 21-38. Last game of the season at home. Again, special shout out to the wonderful LA fans that showed up on Father's Day to root RFCLA. It was an exciting game. RFCLA was actually ahead of NOLA 14-12 by the first half. Unfortunately, RFCLA, for whatever reason, is just not a second half team, and NOLA ended up scoring 4 tries straight in the second half, 5 total in the second half to pretty much blow out LA 38-21. LA did end up scoring a try in the second half by Max Gajijetko, but yeah, not a great performance by LA. Unfortunately, again, that loss does knock them out of the playoffs, and they slide down to number 9. Number 8, another really exciting and very close game. The Dallas Shackles slide down from number 6 to number 8 after losing a very surprisingly close game to Old Glory, 34-36. In that game, it was back and forth scoring 10-10 at the 25th minute. Old Glory does take the lead, but then their team captain, Von Schultz, gets a yellow card. Dallas was able to tie it up because of that yellow card, 17-17 in the half. Dallas scores right off the back in the second half, but then Old Glory was able to tie it up. Dallas then got a yellow card. They were able to take the lead, though, with that yellow card. But DC was able to tie it up at the end. Dallas takes the lead with a penalty kick, but Old Glory, literally at the last second, was able to score a maul and try, and unfortunately for Dallas, was able to steal the victory. I mean, that game, oh my god. It was at Choctaw Stadium. The Dallas fans were all over it because Dallas was winning. Literally when time went into overtime. And unfortunately, the last play of the game, Old Glory was able to get a line out. They were able to get a maul and score, and they were able to steal the victory away, 34-36. That place went quiet after that try, and unfortunately, Dallas not able to get the win. But fortunately for Dallas fans, Dallas was able to get 2 bonus points in that loss. You get a bonus point for coming within 7 points in the loss. Dallas lost only by 2, and they were able to score 4 tries. So Dallas is 2 points. And the fact that Utah and LA both lost secured Dallas that last 4th place finish in the Western Conference. So Dallas is going to the playoffs. Congratulations to the Dallas Shackles, a team that this is their 3rd year in the league. First year did not win a single game. Second year only won, I think, 3. And now they're in the playoffs. So just goes to show you that the Dallas team has been building some momentum, and they've looked really, really impressive this season. So kudos to them. Unfortunately, it's at the cost of LA making it into the playoffs, but Dallas does earn that final spot. Old Glory DC moves up to number 7 from number 9 after that impressive win over the Dallas Shackles, and therefore they are still in the playoff hunt. They haven't secured the playoff spot just yet, but that win definitely helps them. Plus, they got a bonus point for scoring 4 tries. so they get a full 5 points. So it definitely helps them out. I'll explain a little bit more about what needs to go on for Old Glory to secure themselves a playoff spot in the next couple of weeks. Number 6, sliding down 3 spots from number 3 is the San Diego Legion in a surprising loss to the Chicago Hounds, 16-22. This was a very, very interesting game, and I'll explain a little bit more when we start talking about the Chicago Hounds. But San Diego, looking like a dominant team coming in. I thought they'd be a little shaky, and they were. San Diego got an early yellow card right from the start, but then after that, didn't matter. Julian Dominguez scores a beautiful try. San Diego strikes back with the lead to take the lead 8-5 at the half. It was a very defensive game in the second half until Eagles' Marcel Bracchi scores for San Diego. After a couple penalty kicks, Dylan the Butcher Fawcett gets his 50th MLR try of all time. I'll go a little bit more into that when we talk about Chicago. He tied the score. Luke Carty was able to get the lead with a penalty kick and then a second penalty kick to secure the win for Chicago, 22-16. I felt in that game San Diego just looked a little flat, and therefore that's what caused them to make the loss. So San Diego slides a couple of spots down. New England stays at number 5, even though they did win against the Utah Warriors. But again, considering the fact that Utah is so far, they were the number 12 team when New England was facing against them. And Utah was actually leading in the first half. New England really had to pull it off in the second half to get the win. Because of that, I really didn't feel that New England should have moved up a spot. Number 4 is Seattle. Seattle ended up losing to Houston 25-28. I didn't see the game. That's the second game that I did not see next to the Miami-Charlotte game. By all accounts, it sounds like it was a very close game. And because it was such a close game, Seattle losing by 3 to the top team, not only on my power rankings, but also in the league as well. The only team that have only one loss, and they are looking amazing. I didn't feel that Seattle should have moved either, just like New England I don't feel should have moved because of the win. So because of that, your number 3 spot team is the Chicago Hounds, who jump up 5 spots from number 8 all the way to number 3. A very impressive win, which it's even more impressive because unfortunately, Sam Harris, the only coach that Chicago has ever had, just announced earlier in the week before the game started that he was stepping down from being head coach. Really shocking news because honestly, they haven't made the playoffs just yet, but it's not like Chicago is out of the playoff picture by any mean. And this win by Chicago really did cement them at least still in the playoff picture, which is really impressive because, again, Chicago has been struggling a lot. There's obviously something wrong with the way that Chicago's been playing with all that talent that they have. Billy Meeks, Dylan the Butcher Fawcett, who again scored his 50th try of Major League Rugby, the highest try scorer of all history of Major League Rugby. You have Billy Meeks, you have Julian Dominguez, you have Dylan Fawcett, you have Luke Carty, you have Luke White, you have all these talented players. Nick McCarthy. We have all these talented players on Chicago. For whatever reason, they've been struggling a lot this season. And it seems like it came to a head. And Sam Harris did step down. It's just weird because it's not like they're out of the playoff picture yet. They still have a shot of making it. They still have a shot going really far. I think it says a lot that this team was able to rebound from losing their head coach. Interim head coach is now Rob Weber, their forwards coach. And he led them to a very, very successful team. And hopefully, maybe Chicago will go even further in the next couple of weeks to secure themselves a playoff spot. Number 2, they stay at number 2. Surprisingly, a very strong team in the Eastern Conference. Second in the Eastern Conference standings, right behind the reigning defending Major League Rugby champions, New England Free Jacks. Nolo Gold after trumping the RFCLA. I can't say it was an impressive enough victory to move them to number 1, considering Houston still hasn't lost yet, so they stay at number 2. Now, let's go over the playoff scenarios right now real quickly for the Western and Eastern Conference. We're going to pull up the Western Conference standings right now. Boom. And as you see, the top 4 teams, the playoffs have been secured. Your top 4 teams, Houston, San Diego, Seattle, and now Dallas has joined into the playoffs, so congratulations to Dallas. Those 4 playoff spots are set. Possibility that maybe San Diego, Seattle can switch sometime during the last remaining weeks of the season. San Diego does play Houston and Dallas, and Seattle plays San Diego. Oddly enough, Houston plays Dallas, and Seattle plays San Diego in the very last week of the season. It's a possibility that those 4 teams end up playing against each other again in a rematch for the first round of the playoffs, the way that the standings are. So that will be very interesting. Moving on to the Eastern Conference, where things are a lot less clear. So far, only 2 spots have been fully secured. New England, your reigning defending MLR champions, New England Free Jacks, and the NOLA Gold, both sitting in the 1 and 2 spot. The last 2 spots are still open because of the fact that Miami won, Now, the interesting thing is that Miami's destiny is truly in their hands. In the last 2 weeks, Miami plays Old Glory and Chicago. Miami needs to basically win both of those games. Preferably at least one of them by a bonus point in order to secure themselves a playoff spot. So again, they hold their destiny in their hands. If Miami loses either one of those games, Miami is out. Old Glory technically only needs 2 points to secure themselves a playoff spot. So they basically can lose their last 2 games, but as long as they get a bonus point for staying within 7, they're in. They can tie a game, they're in. Chicago needs 3 points. So technically Chicago, again, if they lose with a bonus point, they lose a second game with a double bonus point, they're in. So yeah, there's still a lot to play in the last 2 weeks, especially in the Eastern Conference. Again, maybe Old Glory and Chicago and Miami, those last 2 spots could kind of flip around a little bit depending on the point standings at the end. I don't believe they're close enough to NOLA to make any difference there. NOLA is 7 points behind New England, so I don't think there's going to be much of a chance for those 2 teams to flop either. But that is the playoff scenario still going into the last couple of weeks of the season. Let's go over our Super Brew now, shall we? And boom! Congratulations to Leon! Leon, good job, buddy. You got the golden cap. Now, granted, it was a very tough week. 7.5 points out of a possible 17. Yeah, it was a brutal week for almost everybody. But Leon gets the golden cap. SD Cal Guy got second, 6.75. CrossFox, I haven't said his name in a while, 6.5. And then we have 4 people tied for 4th. Manxman, Theo God, Frisco Flame, and Lady Juliet with 6 points each. Unfortunately, Julie EGW comes in with the wooden spoon. Now, for our top 5 overall, boom. JZS still securing that spot and is slowly slowly running away with the competition. 92.16 points. He is now 9 points ahead of BT Woodrow, who's second with 83.08. I don't know if JZS can secure the win next week, but it's looking more and more that JZS will probably be the one with the win and gets the MLR t-shirt of the team of his choice, courtesy of yours truly. We have a new number 3. Theogod moves up 2 spots to 3rd spot with 83 points. Harry unfortunately drops down a spot to number 4 with 82.91. And our one-time leader of our league, Sarai, is now dropped down to number 5 with 82.58. But even though JZS is so far ahead, man, everybody else is only separated. The number 2 and number 5 spot are separated by less than half of a point. It is very, very competitive. And, you know, if JZS has a bad week, I can easily see anybody jumping him in the last 2 weeks. So, again, lots to play for. Don't give up if you're in our pick'em pool, because especially if you're in the top 5, you still have a shot at it, guys. You're not out of it just yet. Now, remember, we don't do the playoffs. It's only regular season, so only 2 weeks left. 12 games total, 6 per week. So, again, if you're in my pick and pool, don't forget to turn in your picks. And yeah, that's our video. Thank you very much for watching. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get to see all the games, but I feel this is still a very accurate assessment of the power rankings for the teams. Your teams that are pretty much secured in the playoffs, with the exception of Miami, Old Glory technically, and Chicago, who's jumped up quite a bit. Everybody else is in the playoffs, and of course, the teams that are pretty much eliminated are at the bottom. So again, it's a pretty accurate assessment of how the standings are. So it just kind of works out that way. But anyways, thank you very much for watching my video. As always, I appreciate the support, and I'll see you on the pitch.